Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-best friend that I don't owe her anything, including a relationship with my son? When I 22F was pregnant with my son for M, I found out his father, my then boyfriend, and my best friend at the time were sleeping together. I broke up with him and ended my friendship with her. My ex was an inconsistent father and only really stepped up to appease some of his family when our son was newly turned 2. My ex-best friend was really enthusiastic about it, and she called herself a bonus mommy whenever she could. She tried to make me forgive her a few times, but I ignored her and focused on my son. The only time that wasn't true is when my ex broke up with her and she wanted to still be in my son's life. I told her that I was glad her timing self isn't going to be in my son's life anymore, and she was never going to be his mommy in any kind of way. She didn't like me calling her that, and she tried to say she had grown so much and I should be glad someone who loves me also loved my son like she did. I told her she never loved me because if she did, she wouldn't have slept with the father of my child while I was pregnant and then sent her ex who she cheated on to me expecting me to lie about it so he wouldn't know she'd cheated. My ex and ex-best friend ended up getting back together, but then my ex died. She went crazy because ex's family pushed her out once they found out. She wasn't welcome for any of the funeral planning or anything surrounding the funeral because they wanted my son around, and they knew that needed to include me. We're on okay terms, and they knew that I wasn't about to spend time with her. She tried to argue with me the day before the funeral because nobody would tell her anything, and she didn't think it was fair that I got to be around for that stuff even though I hated him, while she loved him, but was shunned. I ignored her and carried on about my life. I guess at some point, she talked to one of my ex's siblings and calmed down about that. But then she still wanted to be in my son's life. I blocked her number so she couldn't reach me and blocked her on my socials, but she was using fake accounts and somehow using random numbers to text me from. I ignored her pleas to see my son. I feel like my silence said everything, but after months of no reply from me, she decided to harass one of my friends, so I went to her directly and told her that I don't owe her anything, which was something she said to me that I owed her at least some contact with my son, including a relationship with my son. I told her she was never anything to him and I wanted her to fade away from our lives because there was nothing to keep her around now. She broke down and then her sister, who I forgot to remove from my list, messaged me and asked why I had to be such an a-hole when she's grieving the love of her life or whatever. So am I the a-hole for not wanting her to be in me and my son's life?
Here are the top comments.
Not the a-hole at all. She truly doesn't deserve you or your son's time, and she was never significant to him. Good on you for holding your stance and protecting your family.
Not the a-hole. She wasn't your friend. She was a homewrecker. She wasn't a bonus mommy. She was the affair partner turned girlfriend. She has no rights to your son, and you're well within your rights to protect him from her craziness. Get a restraining order against her.
Am I the a-hole for feeding my husband well, causing sister's-in-law's husband to insult her for not doing the same? Recently, I hosted a dinner party for my husband's birthday. The whole family was there, and it was nice. After dinner, I started preparing my husband's lunch for the following day. Background: my husband comes from a very liberal family. I come from a very conservative family. While I vote blue, I still have a lot of conservative tendencies, I guess. My husband makes more money and pays most of the bills, and I'm grateful for this. Because of this, I do most of the chores and cooking. I only work part-time and we don't have children, so I easily have the time to do this. He makes me happy, so I try to make him happy too. Anyways, my husband and his brother work together. I pack my husband pretty nice lunches. That particular night, I was preparing brisket sandwiches and some sides. I had been letting the brisket smoke all day, so it was finally ready. Brother-in-law commented on how nice the brisket smells, and how he was jealous that my husband always has such good lunches. He said he's lucky if his wife will pack him a ham and cheese sandwich. His wife said, "You're a grown man. You can make your own sandwiches," which made me laugh because it's definitely true. He got mad and pointed out that I work part-time, but I still make the time to cook for my husband, and that since she doesn't work at all, she should have plenty of time. At this point, I was super uncomfortable and disappeared into a part of of the kitchen where I couldn't see them. They got in a screaming match until eventually brother-in-law went outside to smoke. Sister-in-law came into the kitchen to heat up a bottle for their youngest. She kind of tore into me and said that I should have waited till after they left to start on lunch, but they tend to leave really late, and by that point I'm ready to pass out. She said that he always gives her shit for not packing him lunches, and that I should let my husband deal with his own lunch for a change. I told her that her marriage is her business, and if she doesn't want to make lunches for her husband, that's fine, but I'm going to do what I want to do, and my marriage is a lot happier than hers. So I must be doing something right, and she needs to mind her own business. I also pointed out that brother-in-law has always been an a-hole his whole life, and if she didn't like it, she shouldn't have picked him as the guy she wanted to marry and have kids with. The whole family kind of thinks sister-in-law is the a-hole, but I've been feeling guilty. So am I the a-hole for packing lunch for my husband / showing my love to him?
Here are the top comments.
Your making lunches for your husband is a separate thing from your sister-in-law making her husband lunches. Sounds like her husband is jealous, but it doesn't mean that you have to stop what you're doing just because someone else doesn't like it.
Definitely not the a-hole for packing his lunches, but you're the a-hole for what you said to your sil. Granted, she was being a pushy and overbearing a-hole herself, but you hopped right on that bandwagon by saying your marriage is a lot happier than hers and that her husband has always been an a-hole. Both of those things might be true, but also are objectively a-hole things to say to someone's face.
Am I the a-hole for donating the packages that I didn't order? Start of October, I came home to 3 large boxes with the same last name addressed to my house. I called my mom to confirm whether we were expecting anything from overseas relatives. When she confirmed we weren't expecting anything, she called the number provided on the packages. They stated they didn't want it and to do whatever I wanted with it and provided no information. The 3 boxes contained misc items like jars of spices and lots of packaged clothes. I wasn't a fan of the clothes, so after putting off the donation for 2 weeks, I dropped off the clothes at a donation box. Today, October 27th, my mom called asking if I still had the contents of the boxes, and my neighbor called her to say it was theirs and they wanted it back. I told her I either donated or tossed everything. During the evening at 9, I returned to my house to see a group of 7 people crowding my yard. They demanded to know what happened to their package and that I essentially stole their stuff. If I wasn't expecting a package, then I should have left it outside, and I had no right to throw their stuff away. The situation was escalating, and they were getting very aggressive. I showed them the shipping label that showed my address on the box, but their only concern was I stole their stuff. They threatened to give me 1 day to return their stuff or they would pursue legal action. I had called the cop at this point as they were causing a ruckus and yelling. When the cops arrived, they talked to us and our neighbor. That neighbor was accusing us of stealing the expensive jewelry in the boxes. The boxes had no such items and looked to be from a dropshipping company. In any case, I'm starting to question whether I am at fault. Our neighbor confirmed the phone number on the boxes was hers, but during the call, they said they wanted our address to pick up the stuff. Since they lied about the content of the boxes, I have little reason to believe in what they say. In hindsight, I could have done other things, but what's done is done. If this does happen again, then I know what to do. I talked to friends after this happened, and they said if they were in their shoes, they would also be upset if someone donated their items. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I realize now the wording is unclear. The last name on the boxes is the same as mine, which is why I asked my mom if we were expecting anything from relatives. Thank you to everyone for informing me of the potential scam. I had no idea that was a common practice.
Here are the top comments.
This has been a common scam recently. They send you a package, tell you to throw it out. Once it's gone, they do the swarming and accusing to guilt you into paying them off for fear of reprisal in a lawful manner. This is why they claim items are in the box of high value. The thing is, unless they have a ledger and proof of what was in the box you threw out, they can't do anything to you, as it's just he said, she said, and that doesn't amount to anything in court. Also, if they showed up at your house 2 weeks afterwards, they have no justification to stand on when asked why they didn't make an immediate effort to retrieve the goods.
Not the a-hole. Made no sense for them to use your address. Sounds scamish to me. You made a good call and did right to call the police. I'd step it up and see about an order of protection or a no trespass against them so they can't come onto your property again.